I want to get straight to it because joining me on the line is the one, the only, Dr. Michael Savage. He, of course, is nationally syndicated radio superstar and a multiple best-selling author. His latest smash bestseller is called Trickle Up Poverty, Stopping Obama's Attacks on Our Borders, Economy, and Security. His website is michaelsavage.com. Well, Michael Savage, you needed no introduction, but I gave you one anyway.
I always need an introduction, especially on a show with your audience. Monica, look, this book, Trickle Up Poverty, is about the thing that Obama actually is doing and intends to do. And the reason I say intends to do is because, like an elephant, I've recorded and memorialized every one of his policy statements that I thought was significant with regard to our security, et cetera, in the 2 years that he has seized power. It is terrifying to believe that if we don't stop him, what this man will do next. Many people have forgotten what he wants to do to NASA, what he has and wants to do to the military, what he has and does want to do to our nuclear arsenal. So I can go on, and I do in the book. But the fact is, it's not just written as a quick flash in the pan, attack Obama and hope that they buy it. I wrote this book praying to God it would change people's minds before the November elections and then stop his pan-Leninist agenda before 2012. Because if the Democrats are not turned back in great numbers, as you know, in November, his agenda will roll and roll and roll because the czars are demonic in their desire to alter this nation. You know that.
Yes. Well, this book is absolutely fantastic. Again, it's called Trickle Up Poverty, and we're talking to the great Michael Savage. I also think, Michael, that this book is critically important for all of the reasons you just laid out. Every American should read it. And I want to start by asking you about the title, Trickle Up Poverty. Tell us what you mean.
Well, Mr. Obama came to power on the myth that he was a Robin Hood who would rob from the rich and give to the poor. But even the poor have turned on him. The only people who haven't turned on him are the rich, because the money is actually coming out of the middle class. It's the middle class that is being attacked in many different ways. I mean, when you say housing loss, that's not the poor, that's the middle class. Job loss, that's not the non-working poor, that's the middle class. People say, well, he's trying to fix that. I would argue to the contrary, as I present in my thesis here, that his radical agenda was aimed square on at the middle class. Because, Monica, you know the rhetoric of the Marxist, which has always been get the bourgeoisie. The old Soviet Union was a two-class society. The powerful, if not the rich, the powerful, the bureaucrats like the Democrats of today, most of whom are very, very wealthy, incidentally. It's strange to me that the Republicans are branded as the rich ones, when if you look at the richest members of Congress, they're people like Nancy Pelosi, et cetera. The rich actually are the old Politburo types in the Democrat Party. Anyway, in the old Soviet Union, there were two classes, as you know. There were the powerful members of the Politburo, and then there were the peasants, the whole rest of society, who were owned lock, stock, and barrel by the bureaucracy. And who was the target of Obama and his minions? The middle class. America has always been defined by its large middle class. He is aimed at the middle class. The confiscatory taxes, the socializing of our health care system, the other legislative initiatives that are taking away our earnings and giving our power to choose how we live our lives and putting it in the hands of corrupt and pro-socialist cohorts. Monica, yesterday an article came out about none other than Bonnie Frank. Let's put aside the man's distasteful nature. And I'm talking about his nature, not his orientation. I don't like the man because of his personality and the lies that he puts out there. This man pretends to be another Robin Hood who's for the poor and the downtrodden. It turns out that in the AIG bailout, which he was one of those who orchestrated, $200 million of that bailout money went to a hedge fund operator on whose jet Bonnie Frank flies to the Virgin Islands and who is one of the greatest donors to the Democrat Party. This is sort of like the banana republics that we used to mock here in the United States of America. And who's doing it? The Democrats, the Democrats, the Democrats, and they have to be stopped. So when I say trickle up poverty, I don't think it takes a great genius to understand that instead of money flowing down, money is actually being sucked out of the middle class and flowing up into the hands of the very, very rich.
Yeah, it's a very aggressive form of wealth redistribution in a couple of different directions here. Again, we're talking to the great Michael Savage. His book is called Trickle Up Poverty. His website, michaelsavage.com. All of the things that you just laid out, Michael, in terms of the Obama agenda and the Obama ideology, some people have called this classic liberalism. Others have called it a new strain of radical progressivism. Still others say, hey, this is straight up socialism. How do you see it?
I define Obama, and I study this in great detail, as a pan-Leninist. I think that you have to really read Marx and Engels to understand the roots of this man's background. I mean, you could say socialist, you could say Marxist. I mean, they all apply. But more specifically, it's pan-Leninism, which is sort of an international viewpoint, and it's one where there's all the power resides in the hands of the powerful, and the governmental powerful is who I'm talking about, not the rich in that sense. You know, it's interesting to me how other dictators have initially hoodwinked the very rich in their nations in order to buy them off and keep them, on their side. But once they've accrued enough power, they then turn on the very rich in their own country. He's yet to do that because he still needs them. And I'm talking about men like George Soros, who I believe put him in power along with other nefarious figures. He has not yet turned on George Soros, has he? But there's no question that Soros is running scared right now. You saw the story the other day, Monica, where suddenly George Soros comes out as a kinder and gentler, and he says even he can't stop the avalanche that's coming against the Democrat Party.
Yes.
What he's saying is he's terrified. He's terrified that with the new Republican conservative Tea Party victory that's coming, they're going to finally drag this man before a tribunal, meaning the Congress, and they're going to find out just exactly how much money he raised or gave to put Obama in power and exactly how much he's profited since Obama's in power. And if any laws have been broken, I think this man better fuel up his entire jet fleet and see if he can get on the Virgin jet to Mars, because I don't think there's a place on this earth that he can hide in.
We're talking to Michael Savage. His new book is called Trickle Up Poverty. His website, michaelsavage.com. Go there to find out where you can hear his fantastic and very powerful and critically important radio show. You know, Michael, I hear this from people all the time. I know you do, all of your callers and the regular folks out there in America. There is a real fear out there that all of the things you just articulated, and in particular Obamonomics, in all of its forms, stimulus, Obamacare, cap and trade, wealth redistribution, resulting in this sky-high unemployment, high taxes, huge regulatory burdens, unprecedented debt and government control, that it's actually changing the nature of America. And you write about this in Trickle Up Poverty. This is already happening. The complexion, the landscape, the character and nature of America is already changing, isn't it?
Yes, because Obama has said he wants to be transformational. What does that mean? Well, look at the czars he's appointed. They are all outright Maoist communists. They all hate America. They all want to transform our economic system into that of the ex-Soviet Union. What's amazing to me is that I call Obama a destructive child of the type who takes apart a priceless watch that was carefully passed down to him, and without regard for the value of what he holds, he recklessly scatters the pieces on the floor and then can't put them back together again. This is Obama to a T. I'm sitting in stunned amazement as Obama the Destroyer systematically takes apart this great nation, piece by piece, while the complicit fifth-column government media complex and the lapdog political leaders remain almost silent. I believe he's tearing down everything that was built before this man was even born. And you don't have to look any further than the fundamental requirement of a president to preserve America's borders and national security, despite the massive opposition to illegal immigration. And despite the new Arizona law, which mimics the federal law to stem the flood of lawbreakers entering this nation, who did Obama go after? The people of Arizona, the governor of Arizona, and the Sheriff Arpaio. In fact, he defined himself as a president representing a foreign power. This is a petty dictatorship where he says, listen to this. Here's what he said May 19, 2010. Obama the Destroyer made this astonishing statement to the president of Mexico. In the 21st century, we are defined not by our borders, but by our bonds. What the hell does that mean, Monica?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You know what, Michael, I scratch my head, and I know you do too, when you hear folks in the media go, well, I can't understand Obama. You know, doesn't he want to get reelected? Why is he going against 70% of the American people on stimulus, health care, cap and trade, ground zero mosque, Arizona illegal immigration law, borders, and so on? Well, I don't know if you share my assessment here, Michael, but to me, it really seems that this man is less of a political animal than he is a pure Saul Alinsky radical ideologue. And that's why when I look at him and I think, you and I have been around politics a long time. We've seen many American presidents. Any other American president with a 10% unemployment rate would be freaking out. This guy is not even breaking a sweat. Why? Because exactly the reason you laid out, because all of this is by design. It's all deliberate.
Yes. And I know you don't have much time, Monica, but in Trickle Poverty, I clearly show that the economic meltdown of '08 was orchestrated. It was not by chance. And they did so to push upon the American people a virtually unknown senator from Illinois who moved in on the crisis. The man has only just gotten started. He's young, he's strong, and he's motivated. And after this election, all bets are off as to how far he will go, because he does not care about getting reelected for one reason. There may not be another election. That's really the chilling reality of this gang that has taken over the country. I know these are strong words, Monica, and I know it sounds like rhetoric, but everyone I talk to who's educated as to politics knows that this is true.
Well, when you say that, it does shock a lot of people. But since this guy has been elected, Michael, we have seen one thing after another that's mind-blowing. Things that we have never seen before, that we could never comprehend happening in America. So when you say that, it actually isn't all that far-fetched. And that's why we need to be on guard now. And I know in Trickle Up Poverty, you lay out a bunch of savage solutions for the economy and our national security, our borders, and so on. But I have one final question for you. Because that famous line from the 60s, meet the new boss, same as the old boss? Yeah. Well, we're going to get a lot of new faces in Washington after November's elections. But how do we make sure that they don't start acting like the old big spending folks? And I mean both Republicans and Democrats.
Well, I've been on the Republicans' tail for years. I called George Bush a fiscal socialist about 2.5 years into his second term because I saw what he was doing in terms of building bigger government. Block by block. So how do we do it? Tea Party, Tea Party, Tea Party. The new candidates on the block, they're the ones who are going to shake up the system. The old Republican Party, some of them are great guys, but most of them really are the K Street people. And we'll get the same old lobbyists that have been running the Democrats, running the Republicans. So I say third-party candidates in the sense of the Tea Party people are the only hope we have. And look how much money they're raising. The Mavericks are the ones who can save us, and they're the ones raising the most money because the American people know the danger we're in from the two-party system.
Yes, exactly. And it's the true Mavericks, not the phony fake Mavericks, but the real ones out there, the Tea Party activists who are trying to stay true to what the Founding Fathers envisioned for this country, which was limited government and individual freedom. Michael Savage, you are awesome. Thank you so much for this.
You're welcome on my show anytime, Monica.
I would love to join you. You just say the word and I'll be there. Dr. Michael Savage. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
No, when you write a book, you're on my show.
Oh, I got to write the book first? Holy cow.
Come on, you can do it.
Michael Savage, with that kind of inspiration, I got to do it now. Thank you so much. You were absolutely fabulous. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Monica. Great being with you.
Savage.